Hello and welcome to this week's TeaTalk Tuesday. I am TeaJas and I am so excited to have everyone here watching tonight. We have a very special guest. I am honored and thrilled to sit down and talk some real talk with this brother. His name is Michael McGill Jr. He's a best-selling author, TV personality, and a wellness advocate. His background is in psychology and clinical mental health from Johns Hopkins. Let's catch up with him and see what's going on. How are you doing? How are you surviving quarantine, coronavirus, all the crazy?
That is so funny. I'm doing pretty well. I was trying to find the Facebook Live video. I guess whenever it comes on, let me know, and then I can either you tag me in it or I can share it,
Okay.
um, and so I can put it on my page. So just let me know. But anyway, yeah. So I'm doing pretty cool. This has not been. I'll say this much. I am challenged on some fronts, and then I'm incredibly blessed on other fronts. I'm challenged because I do miss the work that brings me joy. I really miss seeing my
Oh, yeah.
patients in office. I miss being able to travel and give lectures and talks at institutions and places and meet people and hug people and love on people. I'm
Yes.
such a I'm a ambivert, a mixture of a introvert and an extrovert. So there are high parts of me that get energy from people and their
Mhm.
vitality, but then there are other parts of me that get energy from rest and solitude, and self play and self care and self soothing. So yeah, it's interesting. But then I'm like I said, I'm challenged on some fronts, but then on other fronts, I'm really blessed because I have somewhere to live. I'm not having to
Mhm.
worry about where I'm going to live, what I'm going to eat, and that's not everybody's reality.
Yes,
That is not everybody's
definitely.
reality.
So let's get into it. You're doing big things. You have a book, and I actually purchased your book. I promise
Thank
you, I'm gonna
you.
when I read it, guys, I'll let you know right now. All my viewers know that we're reading a book right now. And we're gonna be talking about the book later on, but just tell me a little bit about what you do, and what drives you to do what you do.
That's a good question, a loaded question. So I'll unpack it some with you. But essentially, the art of the work that I get to do is support people with gaining more insight. I subscribe to insight-based theories in the clinical mental health field, and so I'm just a lover of insight. I support people through asking them tough questions and through giving my observations. But the majority of what I do is supporting people gain insight into who they are, into what has caused them or what has contributed to them showing up the way that they show up. And more often than not, I
Mhm.
support people with unpacking their baggage. As I unpack my own life's baggage and go through my own healing journey, I get to support other people with unpacking their own baggage. It's really what I do in so many words, so many ways, so many phrases. I support folks with unpacking their baggage, getting clarity from the chaos, clarity from the dirty clothes and the baggage, doing the laundry, taking them to the dry cleaners, washing them, hand washing them, all of those
Okay,
things.
not just dusting off.
Right. Not because when we dust stuff off from the bag, when we think about it, when you travel, when you go out of town, if you get clothes and you have clothes in your suitcase, if you simply dust them off, they'll still have a stench. They'll still stink, and you'll keep on having that same smell. And the same thing is true in our lives. When we don't unpack the baggage and clean it, i.e., get the lessons, do the healing, do the internal work, we then perpetuate the cycle of the same old stench over and over and over again.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes. So let's just be, I'm gonna be a little transparent. I think we all have had baggage. I know I've had
mhm.
some baggage. And one of the things that I found was my problem, because one thing about unpacking your baggage, you have to be willing to recognize you have baggage.
Absolutely.
So
And baggage isn't a bad thing. As
not
Erica
always.
Badu says, bad lady, or something, you
You
gonna
gonna
hurt
miss.
your back.
Oh yeah. Yes, let me tell you, Erica
One
and
day, all them bags gonna get in your way. I said,
yeah.
one day, all them bags gonna get in your way.
Let
Okay,
me
you go.
find you a
So,
singer too.
pack light. The message in that song, though, pack
No, that's a
light.
good. Oh, I love that song. I love Erica Badu. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. A lot of
Yeah.
her music has some in your face, like you need to get yourself together undertones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they're not
Right.
that under, they right in your face. But yeah, so you're hilarious. So um one of the things I've been realizing is I have to unpack my own baggage, and
hmm
sometimes it's not easy to recognize. What are some ways people can recognize if they have some baggage they need to unpack?
That's a good question. So the first way that we recognize it is to acknowledge when we are in the human experience, i.e., if you have breath in your body, if you coughing, you have baggage. And
Mhm.
baggage is not a bad thing. Baggage is simply the collection of thoughts, patterns, processes, experiences, ideas, ideals, all those things that come from life situations. That's what baggage is. The
Mhm.
issue is when we do not become aware of how situations impact us, because every situation we go through, Jasmine, will impact us in some kind of way. It may
Mhm.
enhance us, it may grow us, it may stumble us, it may retard our growth and our development. The definition of retardation is to have a stunted growth and development, right? So some experiences bring us down and depress us. Some experiences lift us up and elevate us. But every single experience that we go through impacts and leaves an impression in our souls, in our behaviors, in our hearts, in our minds. And those impressions then impact our behaviors. That's why it's important to understand baggage, is because everything that we go through leaves an impression, and then that impression impacts our behaviors, i.e., how we show up in the world.
Yes. And with me having a child, the impression I leave on the world directly, I feel like is my daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
It's my bonus son. And one of the things I think helped me unpack some baggage was definitely taking the baggage head on,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, what are some things that are baggage? Like, what would you say? Some things that people can say, okay, this is baggage. My insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a past relationship, or
Yeah.
the fact that I'm so driven also can be kind of a thing you carry, and it
Mm-hmm.
stops you from moving forward. What are some things that people are saying? So, what is exactly is baggage?
Yeah. So let's back up for a second, because you asked a really good question about how do we become aware of the baggage. And I would say that it's as hard and simple as it is. The key step is to first practice self questioning. We really have to get to a space where we ubiquitously ask the question, why did I do that? And not in an insecure way, but in a curious way. An
Mhm.
insecure way demeans and diminishes and it chastises us. It's like, well, why did you do that, Michael? That's so bad. No, no, no. But a curious way says, I wonder what life's experiences or what life experiences contributed to me loving him or loving her the way that I love them. Not that it was good or it was bad, but just questioning who we are. I wonder what life's experiences contributed to me wanting to become a therapist, or I wonder what life's experiences contributed to me not really feeling worthy in that moment. I'll give you a prime example of what I mean, and this will also tie into your second part of the question. When it comes into baggage, baggage is how we think of the thoughts we think about ourselves. Baggage is the boundaries we set up or the boundaries we don't set up. Boundaries is how we allow people into our lives and how we allow them to treat us. Baggage is all of those things. And I'll give you an example of how I treated myself. When I graduated from college for my bachelor's degree, Jasmine, I actually did not and I don't talk about this as much, but the more that I heal and overcome, the more I'm now talking about
Mhm.
it. But I did not go to my own college graduation, and I think the reason why I didn't talk about it as much was probably because of the shame. You know, baggage. A part of baggage is carrying shame.
Mhm.
Shame is a big piece of clothing in our baggage. And for me, the shame was I didn't graduate at the time I thought it was appropriate for me to graduate. When I was going through my undergrad
Wow.
years, a lot of development was happening. I didn't really know even what I really wanted to go to school for. People kind of see me now in terms of where I've gone to school and the things I've done, but they see the glory and sometimes don't know the story.
Yes.
But even during my undergrad years, my stepfather was actually murdered. He was murdered on a cold and
Mhm.
rainy November day in Kansas City, Missouri, at a gas station. And I remember seeing the police officers pull a yellow sheet, a yellow cover over his body at a gas station. He was shot and his body was riddled with bullets at least 6 times, and how that impregnated something in me. And it really caused a shift to occur. And so
Mhm.
when all these shifts were happening, not to mention just being young, and I graduated high school when I was a junior, so I was already early in my development, right? That I was still going through things and unpacking stuff that I didn't even really realize was there. But anyway, going through that stuff. And I ended up not graduating at the time frame that I thought it should have been. Those shoulds that we carry, that's in our baggage.
Mhm.
Those unrealistic expectations or the lack of grace that we give ourselves, those shoulds, you know. And so I had a lot of shoulds. And in that should came shame. In that should came some shame. And in the shame, I didn't go to the graduation because I didn't think I made a big enough accomplishment. But the more I began to be self-reflective and self-question, the more I realized it wasn't so much about the accomplishment as much as did I really feel worthy of the celebration? Because if I don't feel worthy, I don't show up to the party.
Mm. I guess it's like, for me, that just resonated so much. I've refrained from going places, joining people, and doing like just social things as well. You'd be
Mm-hmm.
surprised, how many of us are really sitting here and we're not going and hanging out with people who invite us to places. You
Mm-hmm.
get the invitation, but you don't go
But you
because
don't
you
go.
feel like you don't fit in the room. But
Mm-hmm.
no matter what room you are in, you have a place.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to tell myself.
That
If
you
I
you
get
belong
invited,
here. You are
yeah, I
worthy. You
belong. Because I'm especially
belong
if you're
here.
invited, it's a different level of um so I guess you lack self-confidence and
Mm-hmm.
self-reassure, like you can't reassure yourself. That's a place of like, wow, I've been invited to the room, but yet I don't feel like I belong. And that's
Yeah.
something that I think if a lot of people can move past just that,
Mm-hmm.
and not invited, that makes more sense. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to be here because I mean I wasn't really invited, but for somebody to tell you they want you to come along, they want you to do
Mm-hmm.
things, and they want you to use your gifts, your talents. They want to hear what you think,
Yeah.
and you're shut off by that. I was really hope people really let that go. That's something that I had to let go. That's why I'm
Yeah.
able to move forward and be open now because I created this space. I necessarily wasn't invited to this space, but I created this space to invite other people into mine. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
encouraging people to come into my bubble because I'm
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in it.
Yeah. But I
So,
think it's even deeper to the point to where it goes back into the principle of worthiness. I love the concept of worthiness because worthiness, as I write, it seeps into the very fabric of our lives. Worthiness, it impacts everything about us. It impacts who you choose to date, who you choose to pursue, whose DMs you try to get into. It impacts how you parent. It impacts the jobs you apply for, the friends you have. Worthiness impacts everything about us. And if we don't feel worthy of certain things, it impacts our goals, it impacts our dreams, it impacts the invitations that we accept. How many times have people been offered a seat at the table to be and present their best selves, but because they didn't feel worthy, they self sabotaged?
mhm.
Because they didn't feel worthy, they couldn't accept the invitation to the king's castle because they didn't feel royal.
We walk around calling each other king and queen, but not too many of us actually walk in the essence of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's easy to, say things and throw out words and remarks, but when you really walk in that kingdom mindset or that
Mm-hmm.
like I belong, it definitely propels you in a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Our thoughts, the things we tell ourselves, the things we believe, that creates our mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
I put a post on Facebook the other day. I was scrolling And I was just a little, you know, taken back by people's level of negativity.
Hmm.
And then, and I, they don't even realize they're speaking things into their lives. They're putting that energy out there.
Yeah.
From the way they look, the things that's going on in their life. Yes, things may not, seem like you have them, you have them all together. But if you constantly talk about those things, oh, I don't have this, what you don't have, what you lack,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're putting that out there. So you're going to continue to lack. You're going to continue
Yeah.
to not have. And this book I'm currently reading, I'll tell my readers and my viewers last video, it really has challenged my mindset
Mm-hmm.
and to really connect what I say to what I think. Because sometimes we have
Mm.
negative thoughts, but then we'll say something like, "Oh, I look fat in this outfit" or whatever. But then when we say it out loud, we're like, "Oh, I guess it's all right." But your first thought is really how you feel. How you feel
Mm-hmm.
and what you project,
Yeah.
they have to match. You
Yeah.
have what you think and what you say should match. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This the power of the mindset, being as the I'm no theologian, but there are some scriptures that I like to quote from time to time.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's is one that I love that
Let
talks
man
about being
speak.
transformed by the
Mm-hmm.
renewing of their mind. And it's the power of the mind. The mind is such a battleground. It's where everything begins, every thought, every dream, every fear, every belief, every point of pain begins in the mind. You think points of pain begin when you've been pricked, but actually there's a nerve that runs
Yep.
from that pressure point into the
Mm-hmm.
mind and tell the mind, ouch, I'm in trouble, ouch, there's pain. And then all of a sudden your brain sends signals to the adrenaline and to the endorphins and to all these things, cortisone, the stress hormone that gets you into your fight or flight mindset. All these things
Mm-hmm.
happen in the mind. It's like people who may not who may not have a lot of feeling in some parts of their body. I don't know if you've ever seen stories or videos where people didn't realize they were bleeding, and then as soon as they saw the
Mm-hmm.
blood, they start freaking
Yep.
out. It's not that they could feel it or could see, but it's like, oh, I can now see the blood. All of a sudden, ding, ding, an alert in my mind tells me I'm in
Uh-huh.
trouble. Panic, panic, panic. It's the power of the mind. The mind is a powerful, majestic thing, a majestic sphere of matter. It's a beautiful place, but it's also a battleground. And so the
So
battleground. And
what
so
you
that's,
feed, so what you feed your mind, you have to be careful.
yeah,
That's one of the things. Like
yeah.
I'm very like I watch my children's cartoons with them sometimes, just
Mm-hmm,
because I'm like, my daughter loves YouTube. Whew.
mm-hmm.
And one day the YouTube video was telling her to tell me no. So now she walking around the house, no. I'm trying to figure out where she getting this from. First of all, I'm Queen Bee in my house. You don't tell me
Right.
no. And one day I was listening to her videos with her, and the little boy, no, no, Papa, no, Mama. And I'm like, oh Lord, I'm
Mm-hmm.
letting this YouTube video brain wash my child into telling me no. But
Yeah.
it's if a toddler can pick up on something like that, we are just the same.
Mm-hmm.
You feed something that tells you're supposed to look a certain way, you're supposed to feel a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and you really start believing it. You find yourself going like, okay, that I've heard it enough times, so that has to be true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, the power of that. And that's the benefit of therapy. I think that's why when folks often ask, why do I want to go to therapy? People have even made comments to me such as, well, my therapist has their own issues that they don't want to deal with. And I go, no, a real therapist is very keen on their issues and their challenges because it's a part of the human experience. If they were perfect, they wouldn't be human. No perfect person is existing. But the gift of therapy, and therapy certainly is a gift, is to be able to have a partner along the therapeutic process where you can be challenged, but that you can also question and be questioned by, and be able to question your thought patterns and processes and beliefs and paradigms, your practices, why you believe what you believe. Because in order to recondition the mind, you first have to assess and gain insight about the thoughts that you have and where they come from. Because the more, oh, I see where that comes from. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I know there are certain pieces of my life where I see that I've done behaviors that were perpetuated from my mother. And for me, those behaviors weren't, and this is no shade, no shade, no heat, no shame or judgment or judging on my mother or any of our mothers. It's the reality that patterns are passed down,
Mhm.
paradigms are passed down, blessings are passed down, but so also
Yes.
challenges are passed down,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Yes.
so there were some things that I'm just like, wait a minute, I see some parallels there. And I need to get some work on how do I interrupt these patterns, because
Mhm.
these are patterns that I don't want to perpetuate. I don't want to continue. But again, it's through place. It's through having therapeutic practices, and therapy is not just being in office. It's one conduit of therapy that I so heartily believe in. But therapy is also coupled with that is also going to nature, practicing self-care, and really looking at what self-care is. Self-care is beyond just going to a spa and getting the mani pedi. Or what do you say, mani pedi?
Manicure and pedicure.
Yeah. It's beyond that. Self-care is setting healthy boundaries. Self-care is also learning how to reparent ourselves. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the adage of reparenting, but it's again under the auspices that our parents gave us the best they could with what they had. However, we get to a spot to where we get to assess, was that or is that healthy for me now? It may have been fruitful for me 10 years ago. These behaviors, these traits may have been fruitful for me last month, but I
Mhm.
realize I'm evolving. I'm having a metamorphosis, if you will. I'm turning from the caterpillar onto the butterfly. I'm in my cocoon having its metamorphosis. And I realize some of the behaviors that my parents have passed down to me, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, whomever, are just not serving me. So
Mhm.
how do I get the tools to change them? And that's again where that self-questioning and unpacking the baggage comes from. It also unpacks, what are we doing that our parents have been doing, and is it working for us? You got
Yes.
to have some real honest conversations. Self-care is also about having real and radically honest conversations with yourself, about yourself, to yourself, with myself, about myself, to myself. That's self-care. May not feel good, but it's self-care. Hello.
So it's not just bubble baths and and
Now that
lavender oils.
look,
What?
that may be a part of it. I got my little diffuser going on right now. That may be a part
No, I
of
light an incense during TeaTalk every time. I gotta get that little note. If you see some smoke, that's all it is. Just my incense. Y'all don't get too
it.
excited. Don't be trying to sniff my screen too heavy or anything like that. But
That's hilarious.
definitely, when it comes to even my relationship with my parents, love them.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of respect for them. Grateful for everything they've done, for me. I have great parents. Just gotta put their little claws out there because they watch your stuff and be like, "Oh, you're bad talking me." But to
I
be
know,
completely
but see, this is the
honest,
thing. Let me say this part though, if I may interject, if I may.
good.
We get to hold the space to say I can say the truth of my experience.
Yes.
Great parents, but there may have been some behaviors that weren't fruitful, and it does not mean I'm going to
Woo!
lose your love. It doesn't mean I'm bad mouthing or bad talking you, but I'm saying
Yeah.
I want to heal and grow. And the
Hmm.
growth mindset has to be, well, wait a minute. Some of these things ain't serving me. Okay. I just wanted to put that
Hmm.
out there, that it is okay to challenge some layers of our upbringing and still pay homage to those
Hmm.
who raised us. Just because I challenge things doesn't mean I'm not paying homage and respect and
Hmm.
honor to you. We
No,
have to
I
remember the two
completely
can
agree.
coexist.
Completely agree.
The two can coexist. So what were
They
you gonna say
definitely
about
can.
yours?
So I was gonna say, basically, my relationships with my parents are with my mom is completely different than my relationship with my dad. And a lot of that is because I wasn't raised in a household where they both coexist.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't live together, so I had to adjust to, okay, when I'm with mom, this is how things go. I'm with dad, this is how things go. And I don't think we realize when a child has to deal with that, they become creatures of adjusting to a room. So
Mm-hmm.
now in life, everywhere I'm go, I'm this Jasmine. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I can be this Jasmine. Oh, because at this house, I'm allowed to show my face this way. It
Mm-hmm.
really did that to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more comfortable with being the real Jasmine here, but I'm not that comfortable with being my full
Yeah.
authentic
So
self
you were
because
taught how to wear a mask. You were,
I
and
was
not even
taught
just
how
taught,
to
but conditioned
condition.
on. And the thing about masks is that masks are sometimes used as a survival apparatus because as a
Hmm.
kid, all our biggest desire as children is to have a sense of safety. And I
Yeah.
think that's what parents, if I can stress anything to any parental figure that's watching, is are you doing everything you can, not just to keep your child safe? That's, yeah, we do that stuff. We make them wear their seatbelts, we lock the doors, we do what we can. But do you encourage and enrich them in a way where they feel a sense of safety? It's a difference because perception is reality for people. Now,
Hmm.
you may be doing the art of locking the door and feeding them and doing those things, but is there a feeling of a sense of safety? And so, what you talk about is the art of wearing the mask, and we learn how to condition and we learn how to wear these masks as safety and survival apparatus. But what Paul Lawrence Dunbar, and I think it was 1862, 1890, you'll have to look again and see, I think it was 1862, when he talked about people, African Americans, being freed from slavery, but yet still trying to survive by saying yes, sir, and no, massa, and no, sir. And they would regularly smile, even though their life was in disarray and their hearts were broken. And so I think that that poem is so poignant to in 1862, the 1900s to decades later, 2020, how real that revelation is. And I'll just read a brief stanza of it, but it says, "We wear the mask that grins, the mask that lies, the mask that hides our cheeks and shades our eyes." He says, with this debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts, oh, we smile, we wear the mask. And so that's just a part of the poem. This is a very powerful piece that says how we wear the masks to survive, and we lie. We grin and we smile to hide our cheeks and shades our eyes. Wow, we wear the mask. Isn't that interesting?
And sometimes you have one mask on, and then you trying to put the other mask on, and then you're doing like
Mm-hmm.
this, and now you have anxiety.
Yes, yes,
And then you're
yes.
doing like this, and you're doing like this, and now
Yeah,
um, you're just like, I can't function anymore because I don't even know how I'm supposed to function. I don't know if
yeah,
I'm supposed to say that, if I'm not supposed to say that.
yeah.
Um,
Did you ever have real conversations with both of those or one of those family members or parents to express your truth and your experience?
um, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I have. And one of the things, when I had to realize, in talking and expressing how you feel does not mean you're going to get change.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the part people don't really realize. I'm the type of person, if I tell you how I feel, I expect you to take how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
adjust, and make me not feel that way.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is not the reality
Mm-hmm.
of telling someone how you feel. How you feel when you unload that, that's just supposed to give you that release that this person has this information, and what they choose to
Mm-hmm.
do is no longer going to define me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a
Um,
part of it's also learning how to acknowledge that when we speak our truth and our pain, that's self care. We honor
mhm,
ourselves by speaking our experience. Now, it would be great if they learned how to validate it and acknowledge
mhm,
it. And a part of my work is working with people. And that's actually the next thing that I want to write. The next project that I want to take on is learning how to have these conversations because there's so much power in validating the experience of another person. You
mhm.
know, unfortunately, though, so many of the people we know, whether it's our parents, other folks, friends, foes, husbands, wives, whomever, don't always have that emotional intelligence, that skill to be able to
Yeah.
validate the experience and the pain of another without even just recognizing this is their experience. And I want to validate that. And so, sure, it would be nice if that experience was validated. It would be nice if they listened to understand. It would be lovely if they
Yeah.
encouraged and asked for forgiveness and said, I'm sorry, and held us in their arms. It would be great. And it can happen. But if it doesn't, are we able to get to a space where we can have those conversations with them and ourselves to acknowledge our pain, our truths? Because what does it say? The truth will set you free. In fact, it says we overcome by the word of our testimony, and the truth sets you free. And so there's so much power in sharing your story, so much power in sharing your truth, so much power in releasing it, regardless of how they acknowledge it or not. There is so much healing power by having the courage, because it's hard to share
Forgiveness
your
is not
truth.
for you because the
Yeah,
forgiveness is not. It's for you. It's not for the other person. I should say
yeah. Well,
forgiveness and
that's
letting
the
it
next
go.
part.
Mhm.
That's the next part, is that it's extremely challenging. It takes a lot of courage to share your truth. But then when you talk about the forgiveness aspect of how do we grow and stuff, the forgiveness is for us to cut ourselves from the emotional umbilical cord of the pain. That's really what forgiveness is designed to do. Forgiveness doesn't mean, because I've heard folks often say, I will never forgive them. I will never forgive them. And I know that pain so well. That's why I can be animated when I say that. But I also know the liberation of forgiveness does not mean that you give them a pass. Forgiveness doesn't even mean that you have to reconcile and be in relationship with them. Forgiveness means that you are releasing yourself from the toxicity. The science even suggests that when we harbor onto that unforgiveness, it causes our stress hormones to be elevated. It causes us to be in an unhealthy state physically, mentally, psychologically, right? It's not
Mhm.
good for the body, yet alone the mind, and the body bears the burden of the mind. So that's what forgiveness is, me cutting myself away from the pain, not me
Forgiveness
getting in
is
relationship with them.
sorry, even if that person's not sorry.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
apologize, even if I act like I never did anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to forgive some people who didn't even know they did something to me. You know,
Mm. Yeah, that's big.
people don't, people, sometimes we talk and we're thinking, everybody trying to be some people trying to be the jokester in the room. You never know how your actions really make someone else feel, or your
Mm-hmm.
lack of empathy, your lack of sympathy, your lack of
Yeah.
coming through on your word. And I also had to forgive myself for being that person who didn't come through when I should have, and make better
Mm.
choices, cutting people off, or allowing people to stay in my life too long, being upset with myself for not setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is not just for other people. You have to forgive yourself too.
Yeah.
And
And I love how you said that. That is a huge layer of healing. You talk about self care and reparenting. A part of self care is learning how to practice self compassion and self forgiveness.
be gentle
Because,
with yourself.
yes, yeah,
Ever
look,
love
yes,
love yourself, love you, because
yeah.
if you don't love you, how can you have that same compassion and love for someone else?
Right. But then that's even the challenging part about when people say that term self-love. It's like, but what exactly does self-love mean? We say that so magnanimously and so richly. And we say, if you don't love yourself, then you can't expect a partner to love you. And I agree with those things wholeheartedly. But I do know that there is a deficit of folks out there, people who are in a deficit, who are saying, well, what does self-love really mean? But a part of self-love is learning how to spend time with yourself. A part of self-love is learning how to honor and acknowledge your voice and your story. A part of self love is learning how to get healthy sleep. A part of self love is learning how to get healthy meals. A part of self
No,
love
saying no.
is learning how to say no. A part of self love is learning how to compassionately forgive yourself and realize I did the best I could with the tools that I had. My tools may not have been good enough, and I can grow. I can hold myself accountable. I can have an honest conversation. But it was the best I had. And now that I know better, as Maya Angelou says, I'm going to do better. That's self love.
Definitely self-love. And you know, I really enjoyed being able to talk about, how you treat yourself and how
Mm-hmm.
you interact with people over the last 2 weeks on TeaTalk. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing I want everybody to know, I really try to bring people on here who I feel are living it. I'm
Mm.
all about being a product of what you're talking about. And being transparent and being able to tell your story shows that you're actually doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
How is it I can give everybody this advice and I haven't tried or moved, because everyone, you said, nobody's perfect, but I.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I'm saying or telling anyone, I want them to know that I'm speaking from experience, my own.
Yeah.
It's not, something that I've seen somebody else go through and now I'm, secondhand telling it. When you really love yourself and you really want to let go of any baggage you have, you really, really, really have to take time with yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really encouraging everyone to really take time with themselves, get therapy, reach
Yeah.
out. If you have a corporation or a large staff, invest in your staff's mental health. Have people come in
Mm-hmm.
and talk about these things, because you'll be surprised how many toxic workplaces there are because people just don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with things.
Right.
People bring their baggage from home and they bring it into workspace.
Yeah.
Sometimes leave stuff where it is.
Yeah.
And I'm really encouraging everybody to do that. Let's talk about your book a little bit too, because I want to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows how to get a copy. I actually have a picture of it as well. I'm going to put across the screen so everybody can
Okay.
see.
That's so cool.
Um,
Thank you. Now, are we on Facebook Live or what are we on?
we're on Facebook Live, we're on YouTube, and I have my Instagram people watching as well.
Okay. So on
Um,
Facebook, is it on your public page? Is it on like your Jasmine Mathis?
it should be on my Jazz Methods and my TeaJas page.
Okay. Because I looked, I was going to try to share it. Um, I
Probably
don't
share
know.
it
I guess I don't know what
afterwards.
I'm doing. Okay.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I've been doing this 4 weeks, and I appreciate everybody bearing, like hanging on with me.
That is so
Um,
funny.
I hope you haven't had any technical difficulties. 1 week I got on, I forgot to hit the public, make it public so everybody can watch.
Yeah.
So I hope I did right. I hope I did. I'm still learning,
Yeah.
trial and error.
Trial
Look,
and error.
being kind to myself. You're doing a good job, boo. You're doing a good job.
Right. You learning how to do it. Hey, you learn how to do it. That's
Watching
for
YouTube
sure.
videos, what to do, what not to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yes, but
definitely interesting.
definitely. So soul vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to read it, but it's gonna be my next book on my TeaJas book club list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what people can find in soul vitamins? Why is it something they should have on their bookshelf?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know on the cover there's a person taking a pill, and on
Mm-hmm.
the pill it says change.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so tell me a little bit about that.
So that's essentially what the epitome of the book is about. It's learning how to get the tools to plant a seed to make some changes. And the thing about healing and the thing about change is that while it's hopefully a shorter read, it's less than 200 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And there are folks that said they read it, one, two, three times, four times. But the thing about it, and I encourage people to do that, is because healing is not linear. Healing goes in cycles and wanes, and it goes up and it goes down. You could be trying to heal your partner or your mother or your father, or heal their relationship, should I say, and forgive them. And on Tuesday, you're in great relationship, but on Thursday, you're still suffering from some of the traumas that you've experienced. And that is okay. Give yourself time,
Yeah.
because healing ain't linear. It's not a straight line. It literally goes in this and in that and in this and in that and in this and in that and in this and in that. It's
Mm-hmm.
all of it. That's what healing is. And so, but the book is aiming to support people with tools and seeds to begin their healing process, and more than anything, their process to self-reflection and self-awareness. Everything that I do, the main auspices or the main vision of it is to support people, because maybe they don't have relationships to mend, maybe they don't have things to forgive, maybe they don't have challenges with worthiness. They could be healed of those things, or they could be already aware of that, but we all have awareness to embark upon and self-reflection to do. And so that's essentially the vision of the book, is to support people with the tools to become more self-aware and more self-reflective, because it's through self-reflection that we become more self-aware, and through self-awareness we get the tools to grow. And that's extremely important. It's all about self-awareness.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I cannot wait to read this. When I do start reading it, trust me, my viewers will know. I'll
Okay.
post more information about it. If anyone have any questions about how they can get the book, you definitely can go. I got it off of Amazon because I that's just what I do. I get everything off of Amazon.
Yeah.
But he has a very, very nice website where you can listen to his content, buy the book, request him to come and speak. And I'm sure you got more things coming.
I hope so. But I do encourage people to not knocking Amazon. Well, I kind of am actually.
Uh-oh.
But I do encourage people to connect with a local bookseller, just especially in times like
Mm,
these when booksellers, there's so much change in the book selling industry, and Amazon being, of course, a very quick and matter of
mm.
fact way of getting it. But I just do believe in supporting some of those local booksellers and bookstores, and even a smaller chain, but they have access to it as well. If it's not in their if it's not in their stores as of now, because it's on the older age. It was written a few years ago now, so it's now time for a new baby.
Okay, we
But
waiting.
it's so funny.
Look, just add TeaJas to your book tour. Stop now. Don't forget about
Okay.
us.
All right. I will not. You are not forgotten at all. Most certainly not. But yeah, definitely connect. It's called Soul Vitamins, and you can Google it, Minerals for the Mind, Body, and Soul. But definitely connect with a local distributor or a local bookstore. And if they don't have it, they can always get access to, or they have access to it. I'll say that much.
They can request it and start selling it.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So I just really want to thank you and tell you that this has been amazing.
I'm
Um, I,
glad.
I hope that you enjoyed yourself, and I am looking forward to seeing everything you have going on forward. What's something that you like to leave with us today? I always ask my co-host to tell me what's something you live by, something you tell
Hmm.
yourself on a day-to-day basis, because I believe what you tell yourself is what you believe, and that's the vein you're walking in.
Hmm.
Leave us with
Yeah.
something.
Um, I would say take small steps.
Mm,
Healing, awareness, growth, reflection, it begins in the small ways. You don't have to look for something huge to change. You don't have to look for something big to heal, especially if you maybe like me and you have a journal of stuff, literally a journal of stuff you ready to work through. But it's the small steps. It's the ways you respond when someone pees you off, or the way
mm,
you respond when you feel abandoned by someone, the way you respond when someone hurts your feelings. Do you dismiss them and ignore it? Do you become passively aggressive? Do you go off and pop off? Do you tell them, oh, I'm fine, nothing is wrong, when your feelings are really hurt? You know, do you ignore them and abandon them like they abandon you? Or do you get the tools to have radically, compassionately honest conversation to say, hey, Jasmine, my feelings were really hurt by this experience, and here's why. And here's my request moving forward. So healing, transformation, rejuvenation, encouragement, it all starts in the small ways. Don't necessarily, before you look for something big, just begin in the small ways, the small things you notice that will begin to lead to bigger things and bigger questions and more insight. And then before you know it, you have a whole journal of family trees that you've been looking at. Like, well, my grandmother did this, and so did my mother and my father. No wonder this is what I do. And here's the thing. It may, as the saying goes, it may not have been our fault what happened to us. It may have been something that has been passed down, but it does not mean it's not our role, responsibility to fix it and to heal it and to keep on growing. We have the power to heal. Our brain is plastic. The science calls it the plasticity of the brain. Whenever you feel discouraged and like you're just too far gone, another thing is to remember your brain is plastic. That
mm.
means it can be morphed and molded based on experiences. So,
Wow, that's amazing.
isn't it though? Your brain
Amazing.
can be morphed and molded based on what you put it through. And as J. Cole says, nothing, the good news is nothing lasts forever. The bad news is nothing lasts forever. But the brain is plastic. Nothing lasts forever. It can be molded and morphed into what you want it to be. And changing the chemistry of the brain starts in the small ways.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard it from the professional. And I'm just telling y'all, let's fix y'all mentalities. But I definitely appreciate you, and I hope everyone got something out of tonight. If you have any questions for myself or Michael, please, you can reach us on all our social media platforms. I'll have some listed. You can always direct message me. I'm very open. I'm very he's busy now. He's the busy one.
It's so funny.
He's big time. But
Ah.
I really appreciate you taking your time out and reaching
Mhm.
back. And I know you do lots of great things. I've seen some of your work. Like I said, his website is definitely worth browsing and reading up on. But that has been Tea Talk Tuesdays. I appreciate everyone sending lots of love. Stay in alignment, y'all. Take care of your health, not just your physical health. It's all about, looking good, but you got to feel good as well. So I'm going to say bye. Thank you,
All right.
Michael.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jasmine. Thanks for creating this space and this platform for us to have a conversation and for inviting me into your home and into your space, into your platform. I'm grateful for the invitation. So thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yes, it's
having me.
been an honor. Thank you. All right, y'all. Till next time.
All right.